Tshwane Mayor Randall Williams says he welcomes any investigation into claims that he interfered with procurement processes in a 26 billion rand tender for energy supply. He's further denied claims, this is around that contract, that have been levelled by members of the opposition, including Action SA, the EFF, among others. We're joined by the Tshwane Mayor tonight. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. We're coming out of a week where there have been calls for you to step down. There has been a case opened against you with the local police station. How would you describe the kind of week this has been and your response just to the onslaught you're facing from members of the opposition?
Good evening to you. Well, obviously this has been a very, very difficult week, and there's been a lot of misinformation out there. I can start out by saying it's been almost a week now since Action SA has accused me of interfering with a tender, and there was a tender for 26 billion rands. Today, they have not shown us evidence of any tender. The tender does not exist. There never was a tender for 26 billion rands. And in fact, if you listen to stories that Action SA is telling to the public now, they no longer refer to a tender of 26 billion rand or a contract. They only refer to me interfering in the administration.
Let's talk about this tender, because ultimately what you're dealing with here is an unsolicited bid. How far were you willing to take it with this bid? Because there also are concerns raised about who the individuals that brought this bid before you are and the links and connections you may have with them.
Yes. Now, there was an investment proposal made. So it was never an unsolicited bid to provide goods or services for the city. It's an unsolicited investment proposals for 26 billion rand that involve 3 unique projects. Not only one, what that was referred to as the energy part. There's also the biogas production, and there's also the production of pig iron, whereby they're going to restart a smelter. So this then followed a process. Now, at this stage, there's no procurement process because there's no demand to provide the city with any goods and service. So we notified National Treasury. Then the redacted investment proposal was then published in the newspapers here in Tshwane. Say the city of Tshwane has received this investment proposal. Are there any comments? Would you like to comment on it? And so forth. So we got comments after the 30 days. And then the full unsolicited investment proposal plus the advertising it in the newspapers were then submitted to the Gauteng Provincial Treasury. And then about 3 or 4 months later, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury came back to us and said, you may proceed in terms of legislation. So we followed that process. Now that is not the procurement process. And then what we did in terms of what we call the MAT, in short, it's just Municipal Asset Transfer Regulation, so just say the MAT. They then applied to lease 2 stands around the current power stations, 2 stands, 2 earths, for a period of 30 years. So that was processed in the department.
Mr. Williams, sorry to come in there. Just to go back a couple of steps, you sent it out for public comment. Did you ever bring it before council?
No. We follow a process that was outlined. I'm coming to the council part now. So after the public comment, there was a document, a council report drafted for the lease of 30 years. Now, the moment a lease is more than 3 years long, it must come to council. So the report came to council. with the request, can we put this out for public participation so that we can hear the comments of the public about us, the possibility of us leasing out this land to the consortium. Was the whole.
Was it proper though? Was it proper to be pursuing a bid to the tune of 26 billion rand without having brought it to council in the first place?
No, that is not the process. And this was not an unsolicited bid to provide goods or services. There's nothing in there that we considered. So the administration did not consider buying anything from the consortium. So it was just them presenting us with an investment proposal that we then advertised, informed National Treasury, informed the Provincial Treasury, and then we drafted a council report for the lease of the land. That then came to council for approval for public participation, not to approve the lease. So there's still a long process to go before we get to procurement. So after the public participation process, only then does it go to the bid adjudication committee. That is then the procurement part.
What was the feedback that you received from the national and provincial treasuries in as far as the concerns that they had raised where this bid is concerned?
No, there were no concern. What provincial treasury, all the national treasury did, they acknowledged receipt of the notice. So the provincial treasury, they asked clarifying questions. Those questions were responded to by the city manager.
Did one of the questions include inappropriate levels of political involvement, particularly by yourself?
No, never, not at any stage. So the clarifying questions were asked, and after they were satisfied, they sent us a letter, please proceed in terms of the legislative processes. We've got the letter.
So as far as you're concerned, the allegations that even the process that was followed is not in line with the MFMA, you're saying that that is not the case?
No, because we followed exactly the same process for a company that came with a 5 billion rand unsolicited investment proposal to build a fuel depot storage facility in what we call our Watlu area. So we followed exactly the same process. And that report was approved in council for public participation.
Do you know the individuals that are behind this investment bid as you describe it?
I do not know the investors. Who I do know is the agent that contacted the city manager. And in the report, he is described as the agent, not investors. So I do not know any of the investors.
What is the relationship that you have with the agent?
Well, I know him. He's a medical doctor.
Yes, but what relationship do you have with him?
Well, I've known him. I spoke to him. He treated me in 2008 for a procedure, and that's it. But he is not the investor, and there's no proposal of his before council.
So what you're being accused of here, Mayor, is that you have this bid that is being considered, and there are questions about how you ended up with this bid even in the first place, that if the city is going out to look for even investment, it should be equal play for any interested parties out there, not necessarily for individuals that you are seen to have handpicked. That is at the crux of the allegation here.
No, that's not the allegation. You mentioned the city went out
Yes, but it's part of what these political parties are saying.
Yes. Now you're asking me for response. You've heard what they said. They've made their statements. Now I'm making my statement. This was an unsolicited. That's why it's called unsolicited. The city is not involved in initiating the investment. We've got nothing to do. Anyone can come to the city with an unsolicited proposal.
Will they have access to you in the way that
it's not
the
me.
agent that did here?
It's not me they come to. They come to the city manager. Anyone can come with, like the fuel storage depot proposal, like the proposal with the black medical doctor that wants to build a private hospital in Hammanskraal. They deliver these things to the city manager. Anyone, that's why it's called unsolicited. We don't ask for it.
So are you saying that the agent did not let you know about their plans to bring this issue to the city manager before, that they didn't speak to you before or ahead of that bid?
This was sent to the city manager, and then it was forwarded to me to inform me of this investment, which is normal practice.
Mm-hmm. And what did you do then?
No, I don't do anything. It's for the city manager. It's just for me to be informed. So when it came to the lease, that is when I have to do something. Lease report. Because the lease report must come to the mayoral committee, and it's the duty of the mayor, all reports that were passed in the mayoral committee, the mayor must then table in council. The city manager can't table it in council.
You're now facing a situation, Mayor, where the EFF, of course, has opened a criminal case against you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they opened a criminal case against me based on lies. The fact that they keep on claiming that the city had a tender for 26 billion rands. So I'm still waiting for proof of the tender. Where's the tender? Because remember, if you have a tender in place, you start with a bid specification document. All tenders start that way. So the question is, where is the bid specification document?
Are you concerned? Are you concerned that these allegations that have been made against you will put into jeopardy the coalition that you have going in the city of Tshwane?
I am concerned because it's one of the coalition partners making these allegations. And as I told you, the coalition partners started off by saying that I wanted to award a tender worth 26 billion rands illegally to a company. But now that they can't come up with proof that such a tender exists, they've now changed the story to say that the mayor interfered in the administration.
So what are you going to be doing to convince them of the fact that you were not involved in any wrongdoing and that you did not have nefarious agendas as they suspect?
Well, what has been done? They've already started it. They laid the charge, and now the Hawks must investigate. So it's not for me to do something about it. It's for third parties now to take it forward.
No, fair enough. But I'm speaking here in the context of a relationship I'm assuming you want to preserve in order to stay in your position as mayor.
You're absolutely correct. And that's why what we did, we called in all the leaders of all the coalition partners who will be meeting shortly to then plot the way forward.
When is that meeting expected to take place?
We're still waiting to hear about the date. I hope it happens soon. Because we need to engage each other, we need to talk about it, and we need to convince each other of their positions. So if I say there's no tender never existed, I hope I can convince Action SA.
All right, we'll leave it there for tonight. The Tshwane Mayor, Randall Williams, there.